Late on the night of July 22nd, 1991, Tracy Edwards was seen sprinting through the streets of Milwaukee. He was handcuffed, terrified, and desperate. Eventually, he flagged down 2 police officers and told them he had just escaped from a man who was trying to kill him. The officers followed Edwards back to apartment 213. Inside, they were hit with a heavy, unnatural smell. The tenant, Jeffrey Dahmer, casually dismissed it as nothing more than a misunderstanding. But everything changed the moment an officer opened a bedside drawer. Inside were dozens of Polaroid photographs, each one documenting dismembered human bodies. In an instant, Dahmer's calm and composed demeanor collapsed under undeniable evidence. He was arrested on the spot. What investigators uncovered next was far more disturbing. This was not a recent crime. Dahmer's killing stretched all the way back to 1978. Over the course of 13 years, he had taken the lives of 17 victims. The discovery inside apartment 213 brought his crimes to an end. But it also raised a chilling question. How could a man commit such horrific acts for over a decade in the middle of a major city without ever being stopped? Part of the answer lies in how ordinary he appeared. Dahmer maintained a quiet, unremarkable presence. He lived alone, followed routines, and never caused trouble. To neighbors and authorities, he didn't fit the image of a violent predator. When questioned, he presented himself as polite and cooperative, carefully crafting a persona that deflected suspicion. Behind that image, however, his methods were calculated. He lured victims to his apartment with promises of money or drinks. Once inside, he drugged them to prevent resistance, ensuring there was no noise or struggle that might alert neighbors just a wall away. He also chose his victims deliberately. Most were young men and boys from marginalized communities. Their disappearances often received less immediate attention from law enforcement and media, reducing the urgency of investigations. By targeting vulnerable individuals, Dahmer exploited gaps in the system. But his evasion wasn't just about his actions. It was also enabled by failures within law enforcement. Just months before his arrest, a 14-year-old boy managed to escape from Dahmer's apartment. He was bleeding, disoriented, and clearly in distress. Witnesses called the police. When officers arrived, Dahmer intercepted them. Calm and composed, he claimed the boy was his adult partner and that they were simply involved in a domestic dispute. Despite the obvious signs of trauma and concerns raised by bystanders, the officers chose to believe Dahmer. They returned the boy to his apartment. That same night, the boy was murdered. This moment became one of the most tragic examples of how Dahmer avoided capture. His ability to appear normal allowed him to manipulate authority, even when evidence was right in front of them. It wasn't until 1991, when physical proof became impossible to ignore, that his crimes were finally exposed. During his 1992 trial, Dahmer's defense argued that he was legally insane and not responsible for his actions. However, prosecutors presented evidence of careful planning, calculated behavior, and deliberate efforts to avoid detection. These actions demonstrated that he fully understood what he was doing. The jury found him legally sane. He was convicted of 15 counts of murder and sentenced to 15 consecutive life terms without the possibility of release. But the story did not end there. In 1994, just 2 years into his sentence, Dahmer was beaten to death by a fellow inmate. He was 34 years old. While his death ended the immediate threat, it brought little comfort to the families of his 17 victims. The case continues to be studied today, not just for brutality, but for what it reveals. It shows how easily a predator can hide behind an ordinary appearance, and how long they can operate when they slip through the cracks of a flawed system.